Coming from the gumball section of the good ship Lollipop,
Yeah!
I am James Nimmons,
I'm Dana Ward.
and this is Pop Satellite.
So, yeah, you guys probably just noticed the name change off the bat, and we can just make this our first subject.
Before we get into something, I want to say, if you're listening to this video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell, because it's showing on YouTube. If you're watching us on our website, you can, right click and watch the video on YouTube, and do all those things, please. And send us email, even if you hate what especially if you hate what you hear. We want people who severely disagree with us to, debate with us and engage us and all that sort of thing in the comment sections of these videos and at the email address provided in the videos. So we're going to build this into a little community, and we're going to get back to talking now, but we're going to come back and talk about what's going to be, if anything, is going to be different about Pop Satellite coming in the future. So
Maybe.
Back to Dana.
Sorry. As I hit my vape and then cough on it.
There is no Dana, only Zoom.
Yeah, I've gotten that joke a lot. So, yes, I am transgender, male to female, and I've been on hormones for about 5.5 months now. So, you guys will also get to listen and see my transition as it progresses. And that's
That's not a joke.
no, it's not. It's really happening.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep coughing here. Crap. That's one of the big reasons that we have not recorded any episodes in a while, along with just
Fatigue
and other life things that have been going on. But yeah, it's a long story. Somebody wants to know the story, then you can send a direct message or something, and then we can hook up and I'll tell you the story. But I'm not gonna eat up our airtime talking about it here.
Write us emails, which we'll answer on the air, and sooner or later we'll add a phone number where we can do this all live. But for now, until there's more interest, we're going to record these things and rely on you people out there that listen after we're done. I know there's a handful of you, so let's keep the mirror ball spinning, shall we? Now, we talked about this in the car the other day a little bit, and I was like, let's not delve into it too much because it would spoil it, and we could do this on the podcast.
Okay.
Because, I haven't asked you too much about your transition or anything like that. So I started to ask those discovery questions when we were on that road trip.
Yeah.
And so that stuff started to seem interesting. So I was like, yes, let's save that for the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we can dive into it then if you want. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you only talk about what you're comfortable talking about.
I'm comfortable pretty much talking about any of it, to be honest. When something like this happens, I've noticed that, I know a lot of other trans people that come out have a lot more, I would say, mental... baggage is really the wrong word. More like they've either had abuse or they've had a really, really, really bad time of things. I had a rough time. Don't get me wrong, but I really, in the grand scheme of things, and what you would really see with other people that have come out and transitioning, I really haven't had it rough, quote unquote. Mentally, it's always going to be rough on any of us. But as far as exterior environment wise, I have a lot of friends. I have a really, really great support network that I'm extraordinarily thankful for. Has made this process so much easier. But a lot of them don't have that, and I can understand why they're reserved and why they don't want to open up too much, even though they are out or on hormones. I'm one of the unique ones, I guess, that can actually, with confidence, talk about every part or any part that anyone wants to know about.
That's very interesting. So when I was asking you things, let's see, I'm trying to remember what I asked you in the car that led to some of that, led us down that rabbit hole. Like, how early in your life did you know or suspect that you might be a girl in, with the wrong body?
Oh, I would say like 8, 9 years old, pretty young. I had it was up until then you're still a kid and you like a bunch of stuff, and you're as a child you grow and develop, and you put on mom's shoes or dad's shoes, or you run around the house or whatever else. But when 8, 9 year 10 8, 9, 10 rolls around, that's when you start to become self-aware. That's when the hormone factory starts cranking up. And I noticed that I liked a lot more of like girl toys, how girls dressed, and it wasn't anything like a male being attracted to a female in like a sexual / dating manner. It was, I wanted to be what they were. I was jealous because they got to do all that stuff, but I was stuck being a boy, and it just felt really, really confining and really constrictive. And there was an instance, I was around, there was family over at the house or something, and I think I mentioned something about wanting a toy or something of the like that was branded a girl's toy versus a boy's toy, and like
Something like Cabbage Patch Kid or something like
I don't
that?
yeah I don't remember something. It was something, like I said, something that was branded. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember more of everyone's reaction, and it was like completely aghast at their son, grandson, nephew, like girl stuff. You're a boy. No, boys don't play with that. Boys don't do this. And that's it was a gross overreaction then, and then like the subsequent months, because my mother was a nutcase to begin with. It seemed like she took every opportunity she could to like say, like just say things just out of the blue, especially like if we were in a store or something. It's like, no, we'll just go past this girls section so you can go to the boys' toys.
She made a point to say that to you?
Yeah, point.
As if it would cement, build a wall between you and that.
And, it did.
Did it?
It did, yeah, because I locked that side in the proverbial cage, and tried to throw away the key to the lock. It's because if your family reacts like that, and then you have your mother, even when you're a kid, and like you can pick up on stuff like that. Kids are very receptive, and you don't realize it until way later on, like when you were a kid at that age, and like you have memories of back then. There are some times that you can actually be like, wow, I really did pinpoint what was going on, but nobody listened to me because I was a kid.
Yeah.
So when you had that, it's like, okay, I can't do this. This was a wrong thing. I made a mistake, but no, it didn't stay that way. I did a really, really good job. I had most everyone just completely snowballed. I think there was only like 2 friends that actually realized that something was up, 2 or 3 at the most, but they were all like, we kind of realized something extraordinarily different about you, but it wasn't our place to say anything. And I was like, well, you could have. But on the flip side, I get it, because coming out was probably one of the hardest things I have ever done. And then a lot of my friends were like, well, you could have told me. And the best way I could describe it is, it's like, okay, yeah, we've worked together or been friends for like however many years. Oh, by the way, I'm a girl. So yeah, it's been interesting. But yeah, like as far as being self-aware, I'd say like 8 or 9 years old.
Wow. So that, at least in your case, puts it in perspective. That how far reaching into the past this can go.
Oh yeah.
How early this can be detected, if I guess you're looking hard enough.
Or if they exhibit there is a different type of behavior that goes with that, because, despite all of the external stimulus that, that everyone is subjected to from the time that we're born, and a lot of it is very gender specific one way or the other, to, anyone that is genuinely like that, they're going to start exhibiting, probably, if they don't exhibit them earlier, which I've heard of cases that, parents think their kids have, especially like they did, I've heard parents say that they knew their kids were gay by, 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the behavior pattern, because there is a behavior pattern to it. It's just that in adulthood, when they finally come out, there's been so much psychological damage over the years because of trying to keep it in, that it's either disappeared or been masked to the point where they can't pull it up anymore. But if parents actually just, kind of sit back and pay attention to the behavior of their kids and how they act and how they talk and how they naturally just evolve and growing up, you can tell.
Well, I think we'll probably be touching on this off and on as we keep going with the podcast, because it's really interesting, and we don't want to give everybody everything at once. But it would be interesting if we were able to continue to follow this.
Absolutely.
Because there are people out there that would benefit from, watching this happen from stage to stage to stage.
I feel that way as well. Like I said, it's...
or hearing about it, rather.
Yeah, we could do something, and I could give access to a series of pictures from when I started, and like people can keep track of the evolution if they want to. And if you do, then, let us know, and we'll set something up.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's totally cool.
Yep. That's you don't get that offer everywhere else. That's crazy.
No, it's educational. It's informative. The more people learn and the more people know, then the better the rest of us that are not ready to come out will feel about when they decide to, and
they'll feel more secure,
their comfort level and such. Yeah, doing so.
Just be the warm blanket of social acceptance,
and not slobbering fanatical. Like if you have even the slightest different opinion, then you're disingenuous people.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was big tech, YouTube censorship, Google censorship, and how they've been exposed, basically plotting to affect the next election by messing with your Google results and your ability to share videos, and like on YouTube, people are getting demonetized and their channels taken away. And
hasn't there been a lot of that floating around for like the past 10 years or so?
It's gotten worse.
It really started to come into light with the last presidential administration, because you had the one side that's like, oh, Obama's making a socialist government, he's spying on everybody, and he's doing all this, he's doing all that, and he's got camps set up for, what was it, bad taxpayers or
yeah,
something.
But those camps were just detention centers for immigrants, and they were top of the line when Jesse the Body Ventura was talking about them in like 2011. And now they're scummy places suddenly, but that's another subject we'll get in later because of the Antifa terrorist. But YouTube censorship, when a platform like YouTube or Twitter starts picking and choosing what goes on and what has trouble being shared or gets to go on at all, or who gets to make money based purely off of if their politics match up with YouTube's or Google's or whoever the case may be.
That does go beyond like what you normally see with like super PACs and the like, of donating to specific candidates for them running and such. So this takes more of a precedent of,
they don't shut down the money flow of people they disagree with.
right?
If they can establish their own money
Like
flows.
what you got going on here is corporate entities that are
They're claiming that they are platforms when they are actually magazines or editorials, or you know what I mean. They're publishers. They're not platforms for the public, and they enjoy immunities because they have the platform designation of being free from whatever content is created on their platform.
See, if you're media and you're a broadcast source, then you have to let every opinion have its side and its say.
In a perfect world, apparently. But places that do that are immediately labeled Nazi sympathetic, like Minds.com was labeled that because they were invited to the president's social media summit. And they're like, yeah,
Wow.
there are Nazis on Minds, but they're not the majority of people on Minds. And the thing is, they're not prevented from using Minds. But it's
There's
not a
Nazis,
place.
there's Nazis on Facebook.
Yeah, there are Nazis on Facebook, and there are more of them there. But Minds is a Nazi sympathetic, blah 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 blah. But yeah, so they got labeled that. It's big tech, all these companies in Silicon Valley sharing the same micro culture, monoculture, whatever you want to call it, and wanting to make everyone else toe the social line. And if you don't, we'll reduce your mentions. We'll shadow ban you. We will take your videos down. We will demonetize you. You know, we'll make it life hard for you.
And Facebook's doing the same thing, but they're a little more underhanded about it. Like,
they're allowing death threats to people on a certain list of dangerous people. And one of them is a guy who's from Britain named Paul Joseph Watson, who kind of works for InfoWars. But he's listed as a dangerous person, so it's okay to make death threats to him. This is crazy.
You can't.
Shit.
I mean,
We're in clown world for real.
Yeah, this is a joke, honestly, because media outlets, multiple media outlets, need to exist free from influence. Other than, yes, it's going to be biased. Okay, media outlets have been biased since media outlets have been allowed to exist. And people pick and choose which side they want to follow. You can go back to the early days of newspapers when
yellow journalism.
You had the newsboys on the street corner. You had one guy with the Post on one corner saying one thing, and you had a kid on the other corner with the Gazette saying something completely opposite about the same subject. It's happened. It happens. You can't censor one side or the other. Not only is it a violation of freedom of speech, but also freedom of press.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have wrong information. It's always going to happen. It's going to be, and it's got.
It's what you do with that wrong information. You can either say we were wrong, or you can continue to go, nope, we have a rally cry for a reason to go and shoot up an ICE facility. I mean, wow, it's all kind of interrelated.
But it's like you can't censor that, and then go back and say, well, I can say this, I can do this, or this is allowed, but what you're saying and doing is not.
Yeah. It's called special pleading.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't really work like that.
Because there's a lot of shit that people do in this world that I don't agree with, that I can't do anything about or say anything about because it's their opinion and it's not a violation of any law. However, that doesn't change the fact that I don't agree with it and don't like it. But you know what? You gotta move on. You gotta live with the fucking population around you. And all of this divisiveness that's going on, even within grouped communities like the LGBT community. Like, I mean, I have experienced a stupid amount of gatekeeping. It's not funny. And it's, you can even see that in the news. So it's gotten to the point now where this is nothing but a mental mash free-for-all. Everybody has gone nuts and went in their own direction and created their own version of things. And it's like,
our version of the truth is the truth. It's not their version.
So
their version is for heretics, and heretics are worthy of death.
And it's like, so when you hear people say, well, your inaction is an action. Yeah, my inaction is because there's so much dumb shit around. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what sides,
That's just basically, if you're not for us, you're against us.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'm a nihilist. I'm against all of you because you're all idiots, okay? Leave me alone.
No, well, you support the white supremacy. If you're against us, knock. We'll hit you in the head with something.
Oh, yeah.
It used to just be limited to aluminum poles.
Concrete milkshakes now?
They didn't substantiate that there was actually the concrete in the milkshakes. They had just heard a rumor there might be.
But still, you're striking people with things over a difference of opinion.
Blocks and fucking crowbars and extendable batons.
You're causing civil unrest when there's no need to be any civil unrest.
Well, civil unrest is one thing, like civil disobedience to unfair laws and stuff like that. But taking up guns and going to burn down a goddamn ICE facility is one, goddamn crazy, and two, criminal. It's a criminal act to endanger the lives of the people you say you care about by setting the goddamn building on fire. Some people are like, Willem Van Spronten was just trying to burn up some buses, man. It was just the buses. Well, he was reported throwing shit at the facility.
Guess what? You missed the buses and hit the buildings instead.
Yeah. And then he was caught fucking with the propane tank.
Where innocent people that you're quote unquote trying to save are staying.
I haven't listened to his audio manifesto yet, but I've looked at his 4-page written manifesto that he left behind, claiming he's Antifa and all this stuff. And it really seems that it was just more important to him to leave a legacy behind and not be an old, washed-up loser.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of us men deal with, is the fear that we're not going to leave anything behind and we'll just be forgotten, when we die. But I guess women deal with that too. But you want to leave your mark on the world, and you can't. Not everybody gets to do that. So he left a manifesto, and in his mind it's going to touch off a revolution because he knew he was going to get killed, and he thinks that Antifa is going to martyr him, and what they're all going to do is do what teenagers do, and they're going to fucking go, yeah, man, rock on, man, but they're not going to take up a gun and do the same thing because it was so unjust to the way you died. They're not going to do that.
But I was going to say, if you try to blow up a propane tank next to the very holding facility where the people you're trying to save are, TV and cartoon physics don't work here. You blow up the big propane tank, you blow up everybody that's next to it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the yield would be, but it was one of those giant ones that looked like an oversized, beach ball tic-tac,
dude,
capsule-shaped thing bigger than he was.
You got to think that stuff's under a lot of pressure to begin with.
Pressurized, it's liquid.
Yeah, so when you set that entire thing ablaze all at once and it explodes, it's going to take out a good chunk of whatever's around it.
Well, luckily you didn't get to do any of that, but what's chilling is the support for this that people, are giving him. You know, I had
Yeah,
somebody in my feed talk about, he wished more people would take direct action, meaning more shit like that,
Well,
which is fucking dumb.
and then like on this, in the same respect, I see people that it's
I
like,
wish
okay,
more
yeah,
people- It's
everybody,
not me though. I'm not going to take direct action.
everybody hates Donald Trump. What the
Yeah.
fuck ever, whatever.
None
I don't
of
care.
us like the guy.
He's an idiot. Okay, you know what?
Before you start talking to us about being Trumpers and all that.
how he got elected, it's still beyond me. It really is. But you can't base every ounce of seething hate that you have in your body towards this one person because he's not the cause of everything.
You just burning yourself out like a candle.
He's like an enabler of things that have always been there, is what he is. Yeah, you can hate the guy because we all do, but you're going after the wrong source. You're going after a false source of anything. You know, the target of your ire is not suddenly Donald Trump because he beat Hillary Clinton in the presidential election.
Well, no, it's because he's a racist, don't you know?
Among other things, he's a womanizer. He's a racist. He can't handle money.
I have yet.
He treats.
I don't like him, but I don't think he's a racist. I'll say that right now. I haven't seen it substantiated that he's actually a racist. He got a lot of black people to vote for him.
I was being more facetious and like going down the line. Like, you know, he's a racist. He's a transphobe. He's a homophobe. He's
or whatever your case may be, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever makes your blood boil, it seems like, you know, he's the scapegoat for it all, for, you know, because he's the president. Like I said, the guy's a buffoon. I don't fucking like him, and he shouldn't have ever run for president to begin with. But he's not the source of all your problems.
I'm sure a lot of people didn't like it when Ronald Reagan ran for president because he was just an actor as well. You know, he didn't have any. I don't think Ronald Reagan had any place being president.
No, he didn't.
And I was alive for his presidency. And I witnessed it firsthand.
He was an idiot as well. Yeah,
he was a moron. Well, another jelly bean. Nancy. Nancy.
So, you know, between corporate media influence, which has been around ever since media has been around, and humans always interpret everything in their own way. And when you have this mass herd mentality going on because everybody's just like looking for some kind of anger vent because of all the injustice in the world.
That goes back to like the YouTube censorship where it's like the media, the bigger media are like, okay, YouTube's the new thing. We got to make a space for ourselves on YouTube. Like it's a zero-sum game because they want to crush the popular YouTubers that are out there right now. And so they're playing this game with places like YouTube and like Twitter, not Twitter, but other video places like Vimeo and stuff like that. But mostly YouTube. They want to crush their competition before they come in and build their own castles, you know.
Yeah.
And it's dumb. It's a very infantile way to go about. I mean, there's enough brains out there for everybody to speak to on YouTube. I mean, there's at least 10 or 11 that's going to listen to us out of the billions of people that are on YouTube.
You would hope anyway.
Yeah, I know. I guess that we have at least 10 or 11 regular listeners.
And that's probably our friends at this point, but
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, hang on, sorry. My phone decided to be stupid.
Since I don't think Trump's racist, people are probably like, never going to listen to you now until he turned off.
Bye.
You know. No, I don't have to share your belief that he's racist. I don't. I haven't seen any cold hard proof. I just seen people's feelings about some things he's said that weren't racist. For instance, the latest thing was like, how is this racist? Ask your friends how his latest thing of when he said, go back to your countries and make them better and come back and tell us how it's done is racist. It might be crude and it might be ignorant.
It was definitely crass.
But I don't know if it was racist, you know?
No, because, I mean...
No, I don't know. Because he's racist. The only thing they have is what he's... Because back when he said what he said about the first time, he was talking about immigrants, where he was like, they're not sending their best. Like, he was saying people believe that these countries all send only their best people, and that's not always true. Especially from South America, you have MS-13, and you have other gangs, and you have other people that are maybe not even affiliated with gangs that are just terrible, that are running from the law, that are trying to escape prosecution, going to jail, or maybe a rival gang, and they come here illegally. 30%, another stat, 30% of the children that everybody's bitching about were rescued from already having been kidnapped themselves. They were separated from their parents in their countries of origin because the people that were with them were not genetically related to them. Because they have a quick DNA test they do now at the border. And so when they find you're not genetically related at all, they keep the children and try to contact their families. And so apparently a claim that's been made is that these ICE places are keeping the children longer than they're supposed to and not turning them over to the Department of Social Services or whatever it is, that agency that helps them find their families. But all this in the background, you have people like William Van Bronson who go, we have concentration camps. I believe what I've seen on CNN, and I believe what I hear, from my Antifa comrades, and I think I'll fucking impress them by taking up arms and trying to, die for the cause, martyr myself for the cause. And he was chronically depressed, probably terribly down in the dumps because he was going through a custody battle that he was probably going to lose because of his male privilege, Yeah, I stuck that in there. I said that. But if he's got it, why is the system, raking him over the coals so badly and separating him from his children? Is it because he's a nut and would attack a government facility? Maybe. I don't know, but that's what he did. And I have no respect. I have no respect for him. And for people that are talking about rest in power, you people are gross. You're gross to stand on the corpse of a poor, misguided fool like Willem Van Bronson. You stand on his corpse and plant the little flag of your cause in it and say, "Don't worry, Willem, we'll avenge your death." Well, some of you probably would, but most Antifa are cowards that would never do anything like that.
Yeah, who was this? Who was the reporter that he was on Rogan not too long ago? He got his head bashed in by
Andy No.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were like, he was asking for it because sometimes he writes articles that aren't too friendly about Antifa, when all he does is cover Antifa's violence, and they don't like that apparently, and that makes you a fascist if you cover their violence, and therefore you are worthy of their violence to be bestowed upon you.
So he's a reporter. And
he's supposedly a white supremacist, but he's a gay Vietnamese immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who had to learn to speak English and all that stuff.
And he lives over here as a naturalized citizen of the U.S. and he is a reporter. And
he had every right to be there.
This isn't the first instance of things like this happening. I mean, like, I have friends that think Antifa, and you do too, are doing the greatest thing ever. But
I used to think that myself.
When you point out that poor people like this dude who is a member of the press, who is neutral, all they are doing is reporting on the goings on in their community or where whatever they're doing.
He's from Portland, and he reported L.A. and stuff. He would
right.
Go to Portland and report. He wasn't from Portland.
And it's like, you want freedom of speech and freedom of press, yet you're going to beat the guy up and give him a brain hemorrhage and nearly kill him because
the Antifas are not the ones that are making the argument for freedom of the press or freedom of speech. They say freedom of speech is like hate speech.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, anyone that is not against, like, other people speaking out in difference of opinion It's like you on one hand, well, even Antifa, they still, you can't have just one side.
Well, you can if you're a fascist. And I think Antifa are the fascists. They are frightening.
Well, their practices are fascist, yes.
They act like the red or the red. They act like the black and the brown shirts. They're known to go to quote unquote protest speakers at universities and shout them down and bang drums and all that kind of stuff, and pull fire alarms and do anything to keep
juvenile
to keep a other viewpoint from being proffered, because it is apparently a hateful one, or they're just indicting the person on shit they've heard that isn't even true. Like so many people think Milo Yiannopoulos is a white supremacist, but he's a gay Jew. Yeah, who's married to a black man. So he can't be one. You see how that works. They hate him. They would kill him. But none of that matters because he doesn't toe the line. And
I really don't toe the line either, other than the fact that equal rights. Equal rights is what everybody should have. I should be able to go and use the ladies' room without someone flipping their mind.
Yeah. Anybody can look back in my feed on my Facebook feed that started in 2010, up until about 2014. I was pretty much on the way to being an SJW myself. I was one, and I talked about white privilege, and I talked about male privilege, and I talked about a couple of times right there near the end, and I believed all this shit. But the more you research about it, the more you see who's putting these ideas out, why, and what they're trying to accomplish. And people are like, well, who's putting these ideas out, James? Well, I have videos about that on another YouTube channel that you can look up, called Cassius Dio. And if you want to find it, all you got to do is put that email address that we put up into a Twitter search, and you will be connected with Cassius Dio.
But going beyond Antifa, it really is going beyond that, because
people on every echelon.
Well, I was going to say, I touched on this a little slightly earlier about the gatekeeping thing, but it's like Stonewall is a perfect example. I was reading something about this last week. The Stonewall Inn in New York City, that's where the big movement started as far as LGBT rights movement goes. And it was started by two black trans women. And over the years, and what I've noticed even now, is that within this quote unquote community, there is an inherently still an anti-trans theme. It's not spoken about, and it's not really actively acted upon per se
among
but
gay people,
but
or lesbians, or both.
I was gonna say, this goes back to the anniversary celebration this year at Stonewall that I was reading about. It was mostly gays and lesbians there, and I think two black trans and a non-binary got up in the middle of the festivities and started reading out the grievances and the violence and statistics and such for especially black trans girls, but trans girls in general. And it was like they were mocked, they were shouted at, and they were jeered, and it's like, what the fuck? You're part of the same community. Like, trans girls started this movement, and you're sitting there basically yelling at them and telling them to get off the stage, when our rights are just as important as yours. We're in the same boat. And then I encountered you and I at the we went to, James and I earlier this year went to a fetish party, and we've done a bunch of these before. Very consenting, very adult. It's
we have
all
friends that put them on.
Oh yeah. So this last one that we went to, there were I noticed that there were other few trans girls there. I was like, cool, this is awesome. I had one of those nights where just like nothing was clicking right, nothing. It was like, I mean, the party was great, but like my interaction skill was like nil that night. James was on point like he normally is. He was in one corner holding court, as he usually does, which is awesome. I'm more of a hit or miss person. Sometimes I'm right there with him holding court in my own little area, and then there's other times I'm sitting in the corner by myself all night staring at the phone. And I was trying not to be that way, but it was quickly sliding to that point. But at some point during the night, I overheard one of the other girls that I had seen walking through earlier talking to someone about her hormones and, like what she'd been going through. I was like, cool. So if she sticks around because she was talking to somebody else, and I'm not going to rudely interrupt, when they're done, I'll, introduce myself, which happened. And it didn't go exactly how I thought. I mean, I don't know. I really didn't have like an expectation per se.
Well, you didn't expect her to be rude.
No, I didn't expect supreme rudeness, which is what I got, and it was a clear-cut case of gatekeeping that I've been discussing. After I introduced myself and told her how long I had been on HRT, I mean, she gives me like this look, like up and down, like scanning look, and goes, "Oh, honey, you're gonna have to try much harder than that if you want to convince anyone you're trans," and walks off.
Like,
screwed me up. Like
that's just the purpose of life, is to convince people that you're trans.
Completely rattled me, and as you know, I left like shortly thereafter.
But the wording is what bothers me. But maybe it's just my OCD.
No,
it's the way she worded that.
No, it's not just you. Trust me, because I've told several other friends and several other people about this, and they all have the exact same reaction. It's like, what the hell? And it rattled me. I mean, it rattled me for a few days.
It was bad.
But in like one of the big things that helped pull me out of that funk was the amount of friends that did say, screw her. And this is going to go back to my first appointment, because I use Planned Parenthood. Bless Planned Parenthood, by the way. Support them. Please, for the love of God, please support them. They are wonderful, wonderful group. So anyway, I use them for my hormone replacement therapy. And my first appointment, when I first got on them, my doctor pulled me in her office before we started any of the questions and blood work and all that, and she flat out asked me, before we go any further, I need to know how long you've already been on hormones. Blew my mind. I thought something else was wrong. I thought, something billing wise or something, something else entirely.
You're out of money. You have to leave.
Something else entirely. But just the fact that before I even started hormones, a doctor that specializes in starting and maintaining trans hormone therapy was genuinely thrown and thought I had already been on HRT. I mean, I still get in funks. Don't get me wrong. We all do. But that's still one of those like motivating thoughts that I have is, my doctor thought I had already been on hormones before I even started. What do you have to worry about?
Well, not too much if you go to Planned Parenthood, apparently. They were so kind with you.
And they're a wonderful organization anyway. They, not just me, but like I've noticed when I've been in there with the interactions that they have with all their patients, and it's all the same. They are there to help, is what they are. All the negative hype that you see and they're running abortion farms, whatever. Yes, they do perform abortions, which is a medically necessary procedure. I am pro-choice, by the way. Get over it. If you're not, you're an idiot. But if you go on their website and look at the list as long as one of my legs of medical stuff that they offer to people, and not just women, for men too, and they do it, you know, if you do not have insurance, they will work with you as far as, you know, your money situation. They will make sure that you have care that you need if they have the ability to do so.
Oh, did you know that this is funny? There's a web here. Did you know that Willem van Spronsen is suspected that he was trans as well? Because he used the name Emma something or other, which was the last two names of these revolutionaries that he likes writing. They're writing.
Well, I mean, even if he was, that's still not, I mean, like, bad egg out of the bunch, you know?
Well, I'm not saying trans people are crazy because Willem van Spronsen was trans. No. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That we're talking about that, and we were just talking about him. That's crazy.
But, you know, so...
It's weird, man.
You're getting, all, you know, this divisive behavior even within the microcosm of a group that is largely looked down upon by the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah, you got people who are still arrogant enough to put themselves on a platform or a pedestal above others.
And it's very disconcerting.
It should be. People like that are just, they suck the happy out of everything.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something to be said.
I mean, if you
have a dark bubble around you like that.
I mean, like any of us should be able to go to Stonewall and be like, this is where it started. This is where the fight for me being able to function in society like everyone else started. Right. Not going in there and having a bunch of gays and lesbians go, you're not worthy, get the fuck out.
Yeah. That's serious gatekeeping, and it's so wrong that, ironically, that they would do that to black trans.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Yeah.
Like, it's like people don't read history.
Oh, imagine that.
It's just like that. That gay people, just like straight people, are ignorant of history, and that's amazing to me. Amazing. As one of my favorite YouTubers likes to say, Jesse Lee Peters. Amazing. So the next note I have here for a good topic is the new 007. It's going to be oh crap, I'm blanking on her name now, but all you got to do is Google new 007 and you'll get this actress's name. She's in Marvel movies. She was in Captain Marvel as a supporting role.
I know
Aisha something or other.
Let me look it up real quick here.
There.
The old iPad at the ready here.
I could just walk across the room and do it on my computer.
Oh, that's why I have this sitting right here, because we have the Wi-Fi and all.
We need, like Joe Rogan, we need an extra Jamie over there.
Oh yeah, look this up for us real quick.
Yeah.
And shoot it back to us.
Yeah.
You know, we still do this all ourselves, of course.
What's her name?
Hang on.
I'm just saying it to keep this
Oh,
face
yeah.
from not being dead. From being dead. From not being dead.
Lashana Lynch.
Lashana, sorry, I thought it was Aisha. But I was thinking of Aisha Tyler probably.
But okay, you know, you know, this is another example of people trying to find problem with something that there's not a problem with. It's just a story modification, or you know, I've never read all of Ian Fleming's books, so I mean, this could have been an actual character progression for all we know.
Yeah, I guess I don't mind if they do it for a little while.
Well, it's not like they're replacing James Bond with Jane Bond. James
No.
is retired, and they've given the 007 number to another agent.
Yes.
Completely different.
Yes.
So Bond is still there, and Bond is retired.
It's like
So-
Batman Beyond.
Yeah, so like if it's like a sports star, if you go for so long and you have that number, when you retire, if you're not a legacy and the team doesn't retire that number, eventually that number is going to get used by somebody else.
Yeah. I think we can agree. Neither one of us really care.
Yeah,
It was an alien concept when it's first laid upon you, but like, I don't know. I don't even. I'm pretty sure it's being done for like SJW reasons, but I don't really care. They got to have a voice somewhere, right? After all the stuff I've said against them, they have to have a voice somewhere, and they might as well have a turn with 007 and see if they can write something good. You know, because everybody's always saying, make your own characters, make your own characters. Well, they have their own character, they just don't have their own story. But they have their own character, and we'll see how good she is.
yeah,
She
we'll
could
see.
be written like crap. You never know what's going to happen. But I haven't seen a James Bond movie or 007. I haven't seen any of the what's the new guy? I haven't seen any of his James Bond movies.
Oh, Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. I haven't watched any of them. I've been saving them for rainy days.
I think I've watched. I'm sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat, folks.
Well, we're vaping, and we're not vaping vape juice.
I've seen 2, and they were both good. He's a good Bond.
Yeah, I would imagine he'd make a decent Bond.
You know, he's better than Timothy Dalton.
Well, everybody's better than Timothy Dalton. Even that first guy. That was
George Lazenby.
Yes, George Lazenby. What a 60s sort of name. Lazenby. Oh, Lazenby's vacuum cleaners. In Weekapog. So new 007, I guess, it doesn't bother us. It bothers a lot of people, but strangely, don't care. I'll probably see it, not in the theater though.
Well, that's like the small group of people that got mad over The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, why fuck with something that's, such a staid, tried and true piece of Americana? But then again, I'm like, it's the live action. Nobody's going to give a shit about it anyway.
No.
It's just like, it's like watching the Barbie version of a fairy tale. It's always going to suck.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like
live
Aquaman,
action.
too. It's like, I kind of pointed this out.
I haven't seen Aquaman. I've heard it was actually good.
Yeah, it was actually pretty decent. But, Jason Momoa is not white. He's not blonde. He's Hawaiian Samoan. And he's built like a brick shithouse. I mean,
big. Aquaman, big.
he's a great actor. He really is. And, like, Aquaman was the perfect choice. I mean, that was the perfect choice for Jason.
Yeah.
It's just,
He would have made a great, oh God, what's his name? It's an X-Man who was an Indian, not Thunderfoot. His name was something like that, though. It was
Not
one of
sure.
the X-Men who was an Indian. But he would have made a great one of them.
right.
Thunderbird. Yeah.
And like, even what was I gonna say? Oh, like, I mean, he did the remake of Conan the Barbarian, and that was really good.
I haven't seen that.
Oh God, that is so. Oh man, I was skeptical, like, because we're all used to seeing Arnold do Conan. That when it came out and they showed that they had Jason as doing Conan, I was like, he just got finished doing Stargate Atlantis, and no, he nailed it. He was spot on. Like, I would love to see him do a series of movies as Conan.
Interesting. Amazing. I'm going to be saying that from now. Stole his line. I don't think the Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson would prosecute me for saying that. Because I'm not using it like he uses it. When he says it,
they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
I guess when he uses it, it's to say that the thing that you just said is fucking stupid.
Right, yeah.
You'll say something and he'll
Like,
just go, amazing.
like, bless your heart, you know, you're
It's
really
like,
an
bless your
idiot.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just like, he doesn't say anything bad about you. He just goes, amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. The people hate him. Oh man, he was thrown out of a high school. Had invited him to come and speak, and then right before as he was about to walk on, one of the teachers realized that he was from YouTube and who he was, and they were like, nope, 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 you don't get to speak. It was a high school or a college.
Boo.
Yeah, they were like, nope, you gotta leave, Jesse Lee.
No, you've already booked me. Come on.
But he does the Fallen State. And I'm not saying I agree with him on everything, because obviously I'm an atheist and he's a reverend. But it's funny to watch him grill people, because he's relentless with some things. He will not give up on a question that you dodge. You know, he will just keep rephrasing it or just asking it over and over again until you either give up, leave, or answer the goddamn question.
Right.
So he just has this way about him for that. But so gay Spider-Man, Jorge Arenas writes from boundingincomics.com.
Now, is it just the actor that's gay, or are they trying to make Spider-Man gay?
They were talking about making Spider-Man gay. The actor was like, Tom Holland was like, these films need to represent more than one type of person. He said more than that, but that's the last thing that he said.
Okay, here.
First of all, this isn't the government. Not everybody is due an equal amount of representation in a work of art. So these works of art, if you want to say it, were made in a worse time in America. That was worse than the civil rights fight, because it was the 90s. These things were made in the 90s when everything was still racist. And so everybody's white and straight. But that's not even true about Marvel Comics, because I've been reading Marvel Comics. Well, I haven't been reading them lately, but I read them a long time ago, and I can tell you that long ago and far, far away, Marvel Comics was already doing things that all these SJWs are like, they haven't done yet. We must force it right now.
Yeah, back in the Stone Age, when Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were actually starting Marvel Comics, they would have messages in the comic books about treating everybody equally.
Yeah.
And then it would go so far as, Stan's soapbox. If you look at any old Marvel comic, you're going to see a Stan soapbox somewhere in there, and it's Stan talking about basically just be nice to each other.
Yeah. And, well, things like that jump out at me are like Iron Fist. The good old Iron Fist comics from the 70s. Iron Fist's girlfriend was black. And I have to be forgiven because I've forgotten her name, and that makes me a racist. But his girlfriend was black, and I thought that was progressive. And the X-Men have had all kinds of races and nationalities and even religions since their inception. And they had the first guy in a wheelchair. Professor X is in a goddamn wheelchair. Does nobody see that? He's in a wheelchair. Well, a floaty chair, but it's a wheelchair.
He cannot use his legs.
No, not without.
Something has taken the use of his legs. That's an inside joke for those of you that are our friends that listen to us.
I don't get it, and I'm right here.
I'll tell you later.
But like Tom Holland was like, yeah, these films need to represent everybody. It's not the government. It's a work of art. You're not due representation. Make some new stuff. Marvel had a gay villain that was a popular villain in the 90s. I remember it making the news, but nobody gives them credit for that. And well, let's see. I can't even read what I wrote here.
Is your handwriting that bad?
I wrote it so fast. It says this was
shorthand.
Yeah, it rubs me the wrong way. So that's what I was trying to read. It rubs me the wrong way. There's something not right about belly aching that way.
Well,
and then Jacob Batalon and Laura Harrier, who were actors on Spider-Man Homecoming or something like that. They're like, we support trans masculines, Peter Parker, which. Why does it have to be pre-existing characters that SJWs want to represent them? Why can't it be new characters?
That's kind of what I was about to get at. It's like,
why can't you have your own shit?
These
leave the shit that pre-exists alone, because that's already somebody's shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
have
like
your own shit.
You're you're not making any effort. All you're doing is taking stuff.
Create, goddammit.
That's already been done, and like stomping your feet like a spoiled child.
And I want to place in all of your pretend.
Yeah, you're basically acting like Veruca Salt in that you think it should, these bodies that have already been created in their current form or how they were made is inherently sexist, racist, transphobic, homophobic, whatever else, when they're not. It's just you, again, are looking to be insulted or offended in places that there is none. Or, it's the same thing that I say with all these people that want to tear down these monuments or whatever. It's like, okay, so you don't want the monuments there because you think the symbolism is for something inherently racist or whatever else. So instead of looking at it like that, why don't you look at it as, oh, well, that person did this and that was part of this history. Well, they were really stupid. Let's not do that again. Let this statue here be a shining example of what not to do from now on.
You got feelings, though, and they're like, we can't have these traitorous slave owners statues standing. And so they have to pull them down.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, so there are people that feel that way about them suddenly. And they do things like that, but they ignore things like, what's his name? He was an ex-Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he was a friend of Hillary Clinton's.
David Duke.
No, not David Duke. It's this other guy. He was higher up than David Duke, and he was already in government too. Oh crap! It's easy to find this information out, but he was search Hillary Clinton and Klan with a K.
Let's see. Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about there.
It's not Nathan Bedford Forrest, because he was dead a long time ago.
I mean, like Hillary Clinton is ancient, but she's not that ancient.
Yeah, the name is escaping me, and I got OCD, so I want to know who it is, so I can repeat his name a few times and never forget it. Because there are streets named after this guy, and nobody cares about that.
Will Quigg.
No, that's not the guy.
Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragon Will Quigg endorses Hillary Clinton.
Oh, this is going to bother me.
Apparently, they gave $20,000 to her campaign.
Wow. Maybe she's popular with more than one Klansman. This guy was big up. Serious Klansman.
This is a Grand Dragon.
He has a library named after him, and it wasn't that name. It was something else that sounded more racist. It was a racist-sounding white man's name. Just had that.
Robert Byrd?
Yes, Robert motherfucking Byrd.
Senator Byrd.
Senator Robert Byrd was a big up, still is in the Klan. But you can find pictures of Hillary kissing his fucking cheek.
She calls him a friend and mentor.
Big Daddy. Because the Democratic Party's not the racist party. I'm just saying. I'm not a Republican, but they're not the ones talking about race these days. The Democratic Party is like, you gotta be non-racist. Everybody is racist. Everything is racist, and we have to point it all out. And if you have a problem with that, you're problematic. He's problematic. Everybody's problematic, and we have to point it all out. Oh, and that makes you, by some people's esteem, that makes you worthy of a bop in the head with a heavy object. Or maybe someone will attack a building that you're in with a fucking firebomb. Because they want to get rid of you or save you. It doesn't really matter. Because
everybody,
they're going to firebomb it.
It's like everybody has some sort of soapbox or axe to grind, and the media and everyone else preys on this, and they just put
Of course they do. They
gas
make it
on the
worse.
fire. They
Yeah.
make it more and more divisive. It's like, another example, it's like, you remember in the 80s and 90s, especially, when we were growing up, you would walk into a place and you would see what was called a unisex bathroom.
Yeah, or
At
it's
a
just
man-
called a bathroom.
Yeah.
It just said
And
bathroom.
men and women used the same bathroom, not gender neutral, not any other label. It was called a unisex bathroom, and no one, I'm talking absolutely no one, ever had a problem using the same bathroom
But
as
suddenly-
the opposite gender.
But suddenly,
Where did we go wrong?
we have a problem. I don't get it.
And now bathrooms are having to be
Adults.
specifically labeled like a family/gender neutral. I mean, I understand like larger bathrooms being specifically men or women. That's fine. But, I'm talking about in places like a doctor's office, or if you run a small restaurant or something like that where you only have a space for like one bathroom. You know.
That's automatically a gender neutral bathroom.
But, it's like, what makes it okay there and not someone being able to use the bathroom like, me, for example, somebody raising a stink because I go and use the women's room now instead of the men's.
Well, I mean, you might not be up to no good, but there are some cases, which I can't cite at the moment.
I mean, there's always going to be weirdos, and there's always going to be there's always going to be
assaulted people or showing people their junk.
Yeah, unfortunately that's
going to happen.
That's just going to happen. But you can't base broad-reaching rules and regulations on people because of just the specific few.
But you can say, let's catch them when they do it. And that doesn't need a law to, just catch people when they break the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's considered lewd behavior anyway.
That's against the law already.
I'm not doing anything lewd. I'm going in a bathroom stall and sitting down to pee. Quite simply, that's all I'm doing.
That's that's already against the law. You don't need a law that says,
and
if you're born a man, you can't use a lady's bathroom, or vice versa.
So if I'm driving down the road and I'm in a skirt or a dress, I either have to change clothes and try to look more masculine to go to the men's room, or I have to just, hope that no one says anything about me using the ladies' room. Which is ridiculous on both counts.
It could be dangerous.
Yeah, extraordinarily.
Could be dangerous. You never know. And that's terrible. But I certainly don't want to be associated with people that believe in limiting the access to bathrooms. So.
Or anything else for that matter. And
if I don't believe you should be discriminated against where you pee, then certainly it expounds and extrapolates up.
Oh yeah, exactly.
To other things like housing and stuff.
It's everything, and that's me anyway. And I would hope that the majority, if not all, in the LGBT community would be the same way. We just want to be left alone and to live our lives like everyone else. We're not hurting anything. We're not coming to take your children. I don't like children personally. I don't want children. I never want children. Some do. That's awesome. They can be great parents. I've had friends that have had gay parents, and they turn out just fine. It's quite simple. Just leave us alone. Let us live.
I think because
catch the bad people.
We went to public school. We have an advantage because we were associated with all kinds of other people.
Yeah.
Especially if you went to a poor public school.
Oh, you and me both did that.
Yeah, and So you get to you get to meet all kinds of those people, so that when you're later on in life, you're not really that stunned when you realize that there are more gay people than you thought.
Right.
Or there are more.
You shrug it off and be like, okay, go have fun as long as you're not breaking any laws.
Like, because of the time frame in which we were raised.
Yeah.
Which is like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, if I would have come out in the 80s and
the
90s
70s.
trans, I would probably be dead. Quite simply. We do live in South Carolina, and the South, there is more of that down here than anywhere else. There is. It's just plain fact. So, but I mean, like, attacks happen all over the place, not just the South. It's just the ignorance is slightly greater down here than other areas.
Yeah, well, especially back in the 80s. When there were Nazi skinheads at the mall and in the public squares.
Yeah.
And
if I would have dressed and acted like a girl back then I would have been drugged behind a truck.
Something.
Yeah.
I remember when the first time there was a trans person at the mall in the town where I grew up, which I'm not naming.
The small.
The local small. And there was a guy in drag, I think, showed up, and because there's a bit of a ostentatious difference between someone doing drag and someone doing what they call fishy, which means they're passing more like a real woman who smells like fish. So they're fishy. Yeah, if you got to be more like the Joker, then that's drag. You got to be more of a host.
Right.
More color, more this, more that. Big and bold. That's drag.
I'm not that.
And then there's fishy. But he was more closer to the drag side, but mostly convincing. But a few people were following him around going, "Look at the guy in the dress. Oh my God, look at the man in the dress."
Yeah. It happens. And like what I get a lot of is it's funny that we said we were going to save some of this for other episodes, but whatever.
Yeah, there goes my phone.
As Mario goes off. The most that I've encountered is like men will look at me and just give me like these weird side glares, like weirdo or like, freaking trans or, whatever else, but nothing ever said to me, just the weird look, and they just keep going. Women, on the other hand,
when they give you the go to hell look.
Yeah, women will either come up and be super supportive and tell you look great, or you will get these death glares like, you bitch, burn in hell glares. And I'm like, I've gotten more of those from other women than anything else. And that's quite surprising.
Quite telling.
And so I don't understand. I really don't.
Excuse me. Your competition.
Coughing competition?
No, you.
I thought you were talking about your coughing.
Your competition to them. They see you as like, oh, here comes another woman on the market who could maybe do things I can't, or date people I can't, or take my man, or my girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I'm really after everyone else. I can barely keep myself together. I'm not gonna date anyone.
In a way, they feel like it's competition.
Either that, or
subconscious, and they're not really aware of it.
Either that, or like you're not a real woman. Why are you?
That revolting feeling comes from them seeing you as competition, and they got to eliminate the competition. So they say things like, "You're not a real woman," or whatever. And there's a lot of trans people that are like, "Yeah, I'm a trans woman. I'm a trans woman. So what?"
Yeah. So I mean, and like
You're not a real woman either, the way you talk.
for real. You know, the ones that come up and compliment you are just like, you know, can't get enough. The ones that give you the dirty looks never say anything. They just give you those fucking death glares, and it's like, you can't say anything to me? You're just going to sit there and give me a dirty look the whole time?
I don't know what to make. It says something about this in the Bible, I'm sure.
Yeah, scan that a little more. You're not going to find anything, sister.
Something in the Bible, I'm sure of it. About men laying with another man.
A man dressing like a girl.
Something. I'll find it. And if they look hard enough, they will.
or something that they will interpret or find a verse that will integrate into their own interpretation of what they think anyway.
That, or they're interpreting the Quran and want to kill you.
Oh, that's always nice.
It is nice. It's so great that Antifa fights for that sort of thing. No, they don't. They don't fight for people interpreting the Quran. And that's true. They don't really fight for that. They bash the fash. That's what they do, because they say so.
And you know, even I could be a fascist if I walk down the street and go say, I mean, if I walk down the road and be like, "Hey guys, what y'all doing? What's going on?" Whack! You didn't know, you Nazi!
There are only
Really?
2 genders. Swack. No, there's not. Yeah, there are. You get it for that.
I get it for anything.
I got called a fascist because I was challenging something that was Antifa based. I can't remember, but a friend of ours who is obviously a member of Antifa said, "Well, you're being awful fascist apologetic," and like basically I'm bringing the threat of the group behind me down on you because I'm calling you this shit, you know. It's just like in a crowd. If you point at someone and start yelling fascist, they'll get attacked.
Right.
You don't have to know shit about them. Nothing. You just go fascist. That's the one. He's fascist. He's a white supremacist. Beat him up. Beat him up. And I'll look the other way because I'm a coward.
Oh, the British. It looks like the British media are trying to bring back the Ebola scare now.
Oh.
I've been tooling while you've been talking. I've been kind of tooling around here on world news, and apparently now Ebola is declared a global health emergency.
All over again?
All over again.
Well, damn it. Jeez.
The World Health Organization has declared the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo a public health emergency of international concern. While it's...
Quick, let all of them come here.
Okay, so, like, the Congo is one country in Africa.
One of the rape capitals of the world.
And it's very poor, and there's not a lot of international travelers that go to the Congo.
Nope.
So, I'm kind of failing to see how exactly... This is a world public health emergency.
Bingo, bango, bongo, I don't want to leave the Congo. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry.
Oh, my God.
The World Health Emergency.
Oh, where did that come from, dude?
Fallout. There's a song in Fallout with Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. Bingo, bango, bongo, I don't want to leave the Congo. Oh, no, 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 no. Was it? Happy in the Congo, I refuse to go.
So, since we've all realized that Ebola only exists in this one area of the world, apparently, you know, it's not... I mean, it could be a public health emergency in Congo. So why are you reporting about it again?
In Congo, where they don't have, like, penicillin and shit. What are you
trying to hide?
Yeah, my question is, what is this cover for?
Yeah, what are you trying to hide now? What's going on in the EU or what's going on in England that you don't want anybody to be looking at? Is it something royal? Because we know the brothers don't like each other now. Big whoop.
No.
Sibling rivalry. Oh, the humanity.
Oh, we should care.
Yeah.
These people are special. We should care.
Or like has some nasty deal went through with Iran, or any number of things.
Iran. Oh boy. Who were the war hawks that were like bomb Iran, and then Trump was like, oh, I don't think so. And it was on both sides. It was bipartisan. We should bomb Iran.
Yeah, which was a really dumb thing to even think about.
Yeah, that country hasn't been at war with anybody for a while now.
They have, like the last time they were at war, them and Iraq had like some 8-year war.
Yeah, that was during my childhood.
But I mean that area is already a hotbed of unrest to begin with, and Iran is nuclear capable, and they don't care. They genuinely seem like their government, at least, genuinely seems like they just don't care that if someone pokes them, they're not going to do anything before that. They're just going to sit there and kind of laugh at everybody. But if someone genuinely like pokes them, they're not going to hesitate to fucking hit their button.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think too. I think
as long as you don't poke them, you're fine. But if you poke them, if you poke the sleeping bear, the bear's going to wake up. And the bear ain't going to be happy.
Let's just leave Iran alone.
I mean, they have one of the most deplorable human rights records in the world, and they are a hardline Islamic republic. Let them stay that way. Whatever. Yeah, you want to fight for human rights. Guess what? Fight for it on your own home soil before you go looking at other countries.
Or look up Iran. Because there's some real oppression going on there.
There is. Yes, I'm not denying that.
In other places as well. You still got stuff going on in Eastern Europe from the 90s, from the Bosnian, Serbian, Herzegovinian thing.
But,
Were we back to the wrong side, apparently?
Yeah.
We backed the Christians against the Muslims, but it was the Christians that were committing the atrocities.
Yeah. But, again...
Or something like that.
It's like... You want to talk about making stuff better. Make it better where you live first before you try to go off half-cocked on another country altogether. Not saying that something doesn't need to happen and something doesn't need to change, because, yeah, that's really ignorant how Iran is run. The Islamic religion, in my opinion, is very ignorant, or at least the way the hardline clerics run it.
You better be careful. You might
when I
lose
worded it.
listeners over that.
Whatever.
Well, I think all religion is ignorant, but you're not allowed to say so, because people trust atheists the very least of all groups, social groups. They are shit on the most, but we won't have to talk about that. That's a whole other episode. And we're closing in on an hour and a half here, and my brain's running dry.
Well, that's fine.
So
we can wrap up this episode. We kind of came into this with the mentality of sort of like a Joe Rogan cast of just kind of going where our brains take us.
Right.
And I don't know, seems kind of good.
Yeah, I can write down more notes for next time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Joe has like that as well, but I mean, like largely
laptops around
but largely
studio.
they're just sitting there just talking about stuff.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get some guests on here. So if you'd like to be a guest on the show, write to the email address provided and do all that other stuff that I said at the beginning of the video. Click the like button, send a comment, subscribe, hate mail, whatever. Questions, ideas for videos, anything. Participate. This is your opportunity. And you can get in on the ground floor and you can be like, well, I was hanging out on those comment sections when they were begging people to.
I've been here forever.
We'll recognize that. Because there's so many of you right now, we could probably count you on 2 hands.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like all 8 of you are great for sticking with us.
Yeah. Stand and be recognized. Leave comments, please. And that's about it. So keep your nose in the air and your tail to yourself.
Bye.